You are malnourished. You're deprived of nutrition. One primary reason for this is because you don't understand the biochemical and enzymatic processes of the body. You don't understand nutrition. You don't understand food. And you may go online looking at pages like Chronometer, type out your daily intake of food, and see the whole array, the list of nutrients, vitamins, minerals. And you seem to lack the understanding oftentimes that the body requires breakdown of these various nutrients. The body needs to assimilate these nutrients in a way that is bioavailable to our system. And so if you consume, let's say, plant matter, well, what degree, what percentage of nutrition are you actually utilizing from that food? And what is going to waste? Because if you actually start looking into the degrees, the measures to which nutrients are lost in this synthesis process of this assimilation process, it can be staggering. It is quite staggering oftentimes, especially when looking at plant foods that are not bioidentical to our tissues, right? And so it makes sense then to consume more bioidentical foods and materials like animal foods because it is more bioavailable. The nutrients that the animals have assimilated in their tissues is oftentimes the exact reproduction that we need in our own tissues. So it doesn't demand the same processes of dealing with these and turning them into the human counterparts, because they are already. Whereas with plants, the plant nutrients often require sometimes multiple processes to undergo the transformation to becoming adapted to human tissues. And so there can be various factors at play, genetic factors, various gene mutations that cause certain people to, in some degrees, not even be able to convert these plant nutrients. And we often find this with omega-3, with vitamin A, beta-carotene. We often find this with B12, for instance. Some people simply can't assimilate it through digestion. And there can be multiple factors at play for this. There can be gut dysbiosis, all sorts, an array of things that may be going on that is wrong in our body. But oftentimes we need to simply look at what percentage of nutrition are we able to absorb, assimilate, and integrate into our tissues. And so that becomes quite the mathematical equation, because suddenly you can't just type it out on a page online and get the whole list of what it contains, because what it contains is not it's not a representation of what you're able to use. Very quintessential fact to understand. And we know it from protein intake, for instance, that sure, you can have whey, which is like 99% assimilated as it is also a very much identical amino acid profile to our own tissue, right? And so you may go down the list from eggs and chicken and beef and all these things all the way until you get to like peas, rice, various vegetables, which have a very low protein absorption rate of sometimes around 50 to 70, 80% perhaps. And that is indicative of the fact that you need more than what is found on the paper. You need more than what is listed, which, granted, you may be meeting the requirements that the government has stated that you need. But those requirements, those recommended daily allowances, are oftentimes not based on any experimental evidence. And there has not been done vigorous testing or anything of the sort. It is just a baseline value, often conducted on the basis of blood samples done on the generic population. So the assessment as to how much you need is just a baseline of where most people are currently at. And since we've already established pretty much everyone is malnourished, this is not a very good indication of how much we actually need. And second to that, we may consider that the soil is so depleted. We have agricultural practices that are depleting the soil, that are supplying the soil with synthetic nutrients that pollute the earth, that destroy our ecosystems. And we are not very regenerative in our farming practices. And if you look at pictures of the common soil that you find in these practices, it will be almost gray and pale in comparison to biodynamic, permaculture soil. And just the visual impact of that should tell you that there is a marked difference in the quality. If you've tasted conventionally grown GMO food compared to organic food from the store, it's a big difference, right? Now, if you take biodynamically farmed food, like homesteading, homegrown food, right, and compare that to both the conventional GMO organic foods at the store, that is an even wider gap in taste. And so your senses don't lie. Your taste buds, your eyes, they're developed to detect nutrition. And so you know, you intuitively know the nutrient intake of the food you eat. Nobody needs to tell you or lecture you about what is good to eat and what is not, because your body will let you know. You have biofeedback to let you know. And so when you see colorful, vibrant, rich food with rich taste, right, you know it's nutritious. When there's pale, tasteless, bland food, it's nothing. It's empty calories. And so it is more important to prioritize the sourcing of your food over the quantity of your food. Because that is how we become nourished without becoming obese. And nutrition is such a foundational concept to understand and integrate. Because if you don't nourish all the cells of your body, your body system doesn't operate at full capacity. And with that, you cannot think clearly. You don't have the energy. You're lethargic, fatigued all the time. Your output in all measures of your life, in all aspects of your life, is hindered, limited. Nothing seems to work. You get sick. Everything just slows down and enters a slump. That is the state of most people. That is the state of humanity nowadays. And so, prioritize good quality food. And if you don't have the financial means to sustain a high quality diet, do the best you can. At least prioritize then the animal foods of higher quality. Because that is where the most bioavailable nutrition is found. And from that, you can then see what else is on the menu. What else can you afford? Go look on Chronometer, see what you need, but don't expect that the ratios you find on there is indicative of what you actually get. Very important. But with that, you can construct a diet that is close to meeting your requirements. I think it is exceedingly difficult in today's society to be able to meet those nutrient requirements. And I think the fact that so many minerals and vitamins even are not considered essential is a misunderstanding. Because even if they are just present in trace amounts, we may still need those trace amounts to some degree. And science doesn't necessarily recognize it. But getting full spectrum minerals, for instance, trace minerals, shilajit, whatever it may be, getting it from high quality plant foods is necessary. It is necessary. Yeah. So with that, I wish that you check out the description, join my Discord link down below. Go on, have a conversation on there, check it out. And with that, have a wonderful day.